I am discovering me. Discovering me. My identity was hidden, taken from me, long before my ancestors began hanging from trees. The serpent, he was the real thief, deceiving my sister Eve. He made me forget I was royalty. My father is a king. I am the daughter of the everlasting, loving, omniscient three. He came to give me life. This world wants to take it away. He never intended for it to be this way. Free will, a blessing and a curse. Say my name. My life matters. God said it first. Discovering me. Redefining my identity. Made fearfully and wonderfully, flaws and all, my destiny was altered when I heard his call. I can't see where I'm going, but I know what I'm leaving behind. My faith is blind, lamps at my feet as I shoulder his load. I feel light, I see life as I walk the Samaritan road. Hello, everyone. This is your host, Nori, of the Discovering Me podcast. And today I wanted to talk about faith. The fact is, trusting God is hard. It's tricky. And sometimes when you think you know exactly what God is calling you to do and you charge full steam ahead, you're wrong. And it's disappointing. It's heart-shattering and it can feel kind of like God betrayed you. But something that I'm learning is that I have to trust God and recognize that sometimes faith hurts because faith is hard. And sometimes I might have the core message of what God is trying to teach me, but not the proper execution. And recognizing that I'm not in control and ultimately that God is, and that He has the final say is extremely difficult. Knowing that God's plans are perfect despite what I may want is painful. And the temptation is to compare my desires to other people's lives, right? To say things like, why does this have to be so hard for me when it seems like they just ask and it's given? Or, it just feels like sometimes it can be unfair. Like I'm being forced to go through things the difficult way and other people get to kind of just dance through life. And it can feel like my struggles or the yoke that God has given me isn't easy or light. He says my yoke is easy and my burden is light, but it doesn't seem that way. Sometimes I feel like I'm being crushed under the weight of following God. Sometimes it feels like no matter how hard I push, I'm constantly climbing up this mountain that there's no top. It just keeps going. And it's like when I think I've reached the top, there's just another 200 miles to keep trekking. And I don't know, sometimes I feel like if I just stop and do my own thing, it'll be easier. I'll be happier. Like life would be easier. I'll just do what I want and it won't matter because I'll just change my mind and do something else or just keep pushing or just keep going or whatever that might look like. And the fact is that that's not true. I have done that already. For the first 21 years of my life, I had my own plans, my own goals, my own directions, and just kind of went through life kind of just figuring things out and just like, I'm just going to go for it and just keep pushing. And okay, well, that didn't work. All right, I'll try something else. And the fact is, I have no idea I had no idea what I wanted or where I was going. I know that the right path is the one that I'm on now. I know that trusting God, even though I have no idea where it's going to lead me, and even though it's hard and it's difficult and sometimes it doesn't make sense and it can feel unfair and it can feel like torture, that at the end of the day, that God says He's come to give me life and give it to the full. And I have to trust that God, as my provider and the designer of my path, that wherever this path leads, it's going to be pleasing and perfect, because that's what God says. His will is pleasing and perfect. And so despite what my desires and my thoughts are, I have to trust that God is going to make a way. I have to trust that whatever His plan is, even though it doesn't make sense to me, even though I can't see where I'm going until I'm there, I have to trust that He is going to give me the perfect direction, because even though I consider myself a great planner, I am able to break down a day into hours and schedules like nobody's business. It's one of my favorite things to do. But at the end of the day, even though I may have a plan, God's going to direct my steps. He's going to be the one that says, yes, this will work, or, yes, you can continue, or this is the right way to go. And he's going to point me in the direction I should go. And all I can do is give my best and try my best to choose to trust God and trust that his plan is better than the one that I have, because I know that he's good and I trust in his direction, even though it can feel extremely hard. And I feel like that's what I've been learning over the last couple years, is that faith is literally blind. I don't really know how to describe it, but it just feels like I'm constantly trying to guess what my next step will be. Like, I think that I have the idea, and it's like, all right, God, I see what you're doing. I see where you're working. I see where you're leading me. And the fact is, only God knows where he's taking me. And I'm just along for the ride. And I don't know exactly what it's going to look like in the end. I don't know exactly where I'm going to end up. I think I keep waiting for this moment where I'm like, oh, I finally get peace. I finally get to relax. I finally get to stop. And I think the truth is that peace comes from trusting God and trusting his plan and trusting that no matter where I am, no matter what station of life, no matter what's happening, that he's in control and he's going to guide me. Peace is not, oh, I finally reached a place of comfort. I finally reached a place of settle. But instead, it's, even though everything around me is going crazy and I feel like I'm constantly changing and constantly moving, which is, I mean, this is what we're supposed to do as humans, right? We're supposed to constantly be growing, constantly changing, constantly moving. But even though there's so many moving parts, my peace comes from the fact of knowing that God is the director, that he's the organizer, he's the orchestrator of whatever that plan is going to look like. Like I said, the fact is, trusting God is hard. And sometimes when you think you know exactly what God is calling you to do and you charge full steam ahead, you're wrong. And even though you may understand the core of what God is trying to teach you, whatever that may be more loving, be more kind, be more patient, be more organized, be more disciplined, that maybe the path to get to those things is different than what you think. Maybe the path to finding that discipline and organization or love or kindness or whatever that may be is complete opposite of what you're thinking. Or maybe you have to go through a difficult storm to get to that place, and it's not just a matter of organizing X, Y, and Z to get to ABC. So yeah, this is something I'm still figuring it out. I'm still trying to define what faith looks like. I think I said in the first episode, I've been studying out joy for 4 years, and I think that I'm at a place where I'm finally understanding a little bit better what joy is. And like I said, I feel like joy is that peace, that understanding of just trusting God. And in the spirit of, just talking about me wanting to slow down and wanting to be more present and more aware of what's going on in life, I think that having peace and following God's plan means making space to talk to him. It means living a life that isn't so busy that the only time that I get to spend true time with God and process my thoughts and emotions with God is in the morning. And that's really the only time. Like, imagine being in a relationship with someone and the only time that you spoke to them was for maybe an hour or two before you went to work until the next day. That's not a healthy relationship. That's not a way to maintain a relationship. That relationship will not last. And so that's what I feel like that's what my take on life with slowing down and having faith in God is like making that time for him. Like, if I have to work a full-time job, then okay, great. But that just means that if my value is God first and family second, that those need to be the next two present things in my life. And then from there, everything else falls into place. And trusting that just because I can't be a part of everything doesn't mean that, I'm a bad disciple, or that I don't know, somehow inadequate or not doing what God calls me to do. Because at the end of the day, my priority is to please God first, take care of my family second, and everything else comes in afterwards. So if my values are set up that way, then God is glorified, whether I can be a part of 5 studies or 1 study with people, whether I can be at every single baby shower, wedding shower, or whatever, or just 1 wedding shower or 1 baby shower, or none, whatever that might look like. My priorities should be God first, then my family, and everything else after. And not feeling like I have to be everything to everyone all the time, constantly moving. So that's what I'm choosing to put my faith in. I'm choosing to say that if God's burden is truly light and his yoke is truly easy, then my life shouldn't feel heavy and overrun with things to do. Instead, it should feel like I have the time and the space to stop and pray and be a part of the lives of my family members, be a part of the things that God has given me to shepherd over. So that's what I'm discovering about faith and slowing down. Thank you for listening. Then Jesus said, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light." Matthew 11:28-30, New Living Translation.